Welcome, Prashant.
Yeah, Ramakant.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. And it's indeed pleasure to see our own well-wisher and colleague accepting to spend some time today on a very important topic which we have just started, you can say, thinking about and made some small headway, that is the NBA. And the important aspect of NBA is the academics. In this connection, we have requested Prashant to talk to us for some time as to how to write the course outcome and the program outcome. TFI has been one such institution where I understand from Prashant that they have completed the second cycle. So, as far as TFI is concerned, they are well experienced in MBA. Besides their other accreditations like AACSB, AMBA, and now they are getting ready with EQUIS. So they have enormous experience in terms of the accreditation, and we are trying to get from Prashant their experiences about NBA, particularly in terms of this area of academics, in which Prashant has been a very strong person, as I have seen him working together and have seen him for many years in this area of academics. He has acquired his own expertise, and that is what made me to request him for sharing his ideas and how they are working. He has shared some information just on the email which has been circulated to you. Maybe later we can request whether he can share one live course of his, depending on the permissibility as per their policy. But nevertheless, this session for next couple of minutes is about Prashant sharing with us the course outcome, how to write it, and then overall about program outcome, because under Karnataka University, we don't have any settled program outcome. One of the suggestions which Prashant gave was whether we can request the university to work on the program outcome. That is a second issue. But in case we have to decide on program outcome, let us have some inputs from Prashant. With this brief, I request Prashant. Prashant is mechanical engineer, as all of us know, and later MBA from Kausari. Then he went on to complete his PhD under Professor Chetli. Some initial experience he has had before coming to the MBA. So he has the industry experience before MBA. After that, he worked for Mysore Kirloskar for quite some time in sales. And that is where we came together in Mysore Kirloskar that way back in 90s. And we have been friends since then. So I have seen Prashant maybe almost last 25 years now in both the sites. And this is a brief of Prashant. And Prashant has worked, all of us know, in IMSR, GBS. Then he switched over to TFI. For a short time, he came back to Hubli, again worked for GBS as a director. And now he has gone back to TFI. So this is the journey of Prashant in academics, which is now spanning almost 22 years. So that's the experience he brings in when he's speaking about the topics that we ask him to have him. And we look therefore to Prashant to share some of those things, his experience, as well as these concepts. Prashant, over to you, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Yeah. Thank you, Ramakant. Am I audible to all of you? Yeah.
Yes, Prashant sir, you are audible.
Yeah, at the outset, I think thanks to Dr. Korvi, my good friend, I think for the last 22 years, he was the first person whom I met in IMSR. We have been together in different positions, okay, and I think we are in. We shared the positions as colleagues also recently as directors. One thing that makes me come to this session and discuss with you is the institute's thinking of learning. I think I appreciate Chaitanya Business School's initiatives in the last 1 year. I've been observing very closely because I am more of a neutral person nowadays. And I think I really appreciate the way I think Chaitanya is doing. What I appreciate of Ramakant in particular is he doesn't leave anything unturned. And, he spoke to me about a week back and he said, we are just like looking at NBA. NBA is a long journey, just to share with all of you. It's a long journey, but the long journey starts with the first step. I thought it's good for me to share some of my ideas. I have done this, I think, to a lot of institutions that I worked for also, but nevertheless, that doesn't stop me from sharing it with you also. Now, coming to the topic, I think if you look at NBA, the National Board of Accreditation, just to share with you again, it is going to become quite mandatory in years to come, if not days, for all institutions to have MBA. Whether we like it or not, I think the MBA institutions in particular will definitely have to go to NBA. There is a discussion between NBA and NAC. A lot of, I think, what you call confusions around both of these. When I was the head of an institution, I always used to tell that NBA is basically for a standalone institution like maybe all of you, whereas NAC is basically for a conglomerate like a university, where we have a lot of courses and then we have a NAC accreditation across courses. Now, between both this NBA and NAC, the difference is very clear. NBA accredits the course, not the institution. So it should be very clear that if you have got an NBA accreditation, you are accredited for the course, the NBA course that you're offering at Chetan Business School. So when you apply to NBA, you possibly are telling the application which course you want to be accredited. It is fairly simple for institutions which are having only one program. So it is obviously the same program. But if you're offering more than one program, for example, if you're offering MBA, if you're offering, let us say, MBA in finance, part-time program, which some of the institutions are offering, IMS, I suppose, then they have to be very clear whether they want accreditation for the MBA finance program or MBA mains program. So in essence, whenever you're looking at an MBA program, you're trying to tell the entire world tomorrow that, look, our program is accredited by somebody for quality. So the plus point of an MBA, basically at the end of whatever time you take, is going to be telling the entire world that, look, I'm known for quality maintenance in academics. That's how it looks like basically. And hence it is important for all of us to be very clear that we need to do a lot of things that makes our course stronger. So it is course centric, program centric, sorry, not course centric, program centric. So if Chetan is looking at NBA for MBA program, which is very obvious. So it is very clear that in the next few years, all of you in different positions and what you call proportions are looking at strengthening the program. So if you go back to the NBA document, which I think I hope some of you would have started looking at it, there are a lot of sections in NBA. And one of the important sections in the NBA is academics. It is not only that point. It is not that only you make a course outline, you get an NBA, but it is one of the important sections with the highest weightage in NBA accreditation, academics. The next section is going to be research. The third section is going to be faculty and their qualifications and their contributions. Very specifically, they say that. So like that, there are 4 or 5 heads in NBA on which the institution has to start growing. But the important heading for any institution for NBA is academics. So I come down, I think, to academics, and in that academics, when it comes to academic discussions in NBA, it is more about the sort of courses that you have, the subjects that you have in MBA. Now, between both institutions, if you look at my institution, TAPME, and if you look at institutions like Chetan Business School, your institution, the big difference between both these schools is going to be the courses or the subjects in your college is going to be defined by the university very clearly. There's no discussion point there. So whatever is listed in the syllabus is going to be done by Chetan Business School. And whatever, in our case, it is more of whatever we say, whatever we decide, we will do it. So when it comes to NBA looks at 2 different institutions. One is university-based systems, where the entire subjects are defined by the university. And there's a syllabus of the university which all the affiliated colleges will follow. Whereas in autonomous institutions like us, we will have to tell what we have offered this year because it will change next year. So possibly in the last 5 years, we have to tell these are the courses that were offered in the last 5 years, so on and so forth. To that extent, there is a small flexibility in an institution like TAPME where I can define my own program outcomes. Because the MBA program in our place is ours. When I say ours, it is, I can define it the way I want. Because I'm going to teach the courses whichever I want. And I'm going to evaluate the courses the way I want. So everything is autonomous. To that extent, I can also define what my MBA program is going to do. Whereas in the case of a university-based system and you being an affiliated college of the university, this program outcome is defined by the university. This is what I was telling Ramakant some time back, that the program level outcome or the program level objectives are not defined by the institution. They are normally defined by the apex body called as the university. So what remains for the affiliated colleges is, having known the program objectives, once the university has done that, you then come down to the courses. So I'm just coming down to the level of course now, because at the program level, I think you need to still do a bit of work with the university. So I think that will take some time. So let us keep it pending for some time. But nevertheless, before going to the program and the course, let me just tell you what we are doing in our place. So I'll just maybe read out to you maybe what we do it. The entire, I think, course outcomes and the course objectives start from one single statement called as mission statement. I think with you and Chetan Business School has, which all the schools have. So the mission statement or the vision statement is a start point of any discussion. So all the discussions that you do in the course or in the subject has to be linked to the mission. It can't be that I say something very big in the mission and then in the course I just do something very small. So anything you do in the course has to be touching the mission statement. So it is extremely important for accreditation to have a strong alignment between the mission, the program outcomes, and the course outcomes. 3 different levels. So when a faculty teaches a course and whatever he teaches in the course, somewhere has to touch the mission of the institution. It can't be different. Now to that extent, a lot of times when people start off with an MBA, they do some changes in the mission statement of theirs. Because if they have a very big mission statement and the courses, what they're doing, the subjects are not just touching the mission, then the MBA accreditation will not go through. So if you just look at what mission we have at TAPMI, I just read out to you. It's a very simple statement. It's about 10 words. So our mission is, we say very clearly to the entire world, we put up in the institution also in different places. We say to excel in postgraduate management education, research and practice. This is our mission. It's a very simple mission statement. We say we want to excel in postgraduate education. We say it very clearly, it is PG, not UG. So we are not just into the UG market. It's a postgraduate management education. And we want to be very clear in saying that we want to excel in education, I'm going to say teaching, in research and consultancy, 3 areas. So our mission says very clearly that anybody who comes to TAPMI or anybody who takes services of TAPMI will get excellent management teaching, will get excellent management research. If at all a faculty joins, you will get a scope to do a lot of management research. Company wants to associate with us, we tell the company that we give you excellent practice. So this is our mission basically, right? So with this mission, what we do is we now come to the programs. Now what TAPMI has done is with this mission in place, they have defined the program learning objectives. Now some, I think, institutions call it as objectives, some institutions call it as goals. I think all of us who teach strategic management know very well that objective is more of a short-term basis. You can change objectives year on year, whereas a goal is slightly long-term. So normally the NBA parlance on the MBA literature, you normally call it as program learning goals, PLG, right? So according to the mission, TAPMI has 6 PLGs. So we feel that our program can be done through 6 different methods, or we have to do 6 different ways to touch our mission. So the first PLG, what we have defined at TAPMI is application of fundamentals. This is our first program learning goal, that we want to be very clear that our students know how to apply fundamentals. And that is the first step to excellent education. The second PLG is problem identification and solution. Look at how simple you have to make the PLG. It is not a very big statement. It is more about what all do you want to do in the program that will serve to achieve your mission. The third one is PLG number 3 is integrative thinking. We want a lot of students in our institution to be integrative thinkers, because a lot of times when they go to companies, they have to think across specializations. A marketing student has to understand the financial implication, also has to understand the operations implications. So we want an integrative thinking approach. That is PLG number 3. PLG number 4 is effective communication, which is more about oral and written communication. PLG number 5, the 5th program learning goal that we have in mind is ethical responsibility. And PLG number 6 is leadership. So it looks very clear for TAPMI that they want to achieve the mission through the 6 PLGs that I told you. So in other words, the mission is now split into 6 parts. The first part is fundamental thinking. So we want the students to be fundamentally strong. Second is we want them to identify the problem and solve it. Third is we want them to look at problem solution along with other disciplines, integrative thinking. Fourth is we want them to be, at the end of the day, able to communicate what they have done, orally and written, because managers have to communicate orally and written. We also want our crowd or the students to be ethically responsible. And lastly is we want our students to become leaders, not immediately, but after some time. Because at the end of the day, any management school wants to develop leaders, not just managers. That's what we speak. So these 6 are the PLGs basically. Now this is exactly what has to be done at the university level from your side. And that is very common to all the institutions because all of them are affiliated institutions. So this comes from the university for you. This comes from our own institution in our place. I hope I am very clear on this. Right? Now once the PLG is done, then we come to the course. Now, if you look at the number of courses we have, assume that in your first semester and second semester, I think we have about 50 plus credits, right? It's about 50 plus credits we have.
In the first semester, we have 25 credits.
Second is 25.
Second, 35.
35. So totally we have about 55 credits for 60 credits, and it could be about 14, 15 subjects.
Yeah. Both put together around 14, 15 subjects.
And maybe another 14, 15 in the third and fourth semester.
Yeah.
So totally about, if you look at 30 courses or 30 subjects in the entire MBA program, you will have to achieve the 6 PLGs. Assume that the 6 PLGs are yours, what I told you. It is expected that the institution will achieve all the 6 program learning goals through 30 subjects. Now again here, in our place, we have the choice to drop any course and add any course. So we find out that in the last year, if some course is not achieving any program learning goal correctly, if it is not strong, if it is not effective, we can drop the course. So we can keep on adding and dropping. So that small problem I think you will have. But essentially, each course is going to contribute either to PLG 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Now, if any course or any subject is not having linkage to the PLG, it is not at all contributed to any of the PLGs, then it looks like the course is out of place, basically. So whenever I think in your pedagogy meeting, when you add some subjects or when you delete some subjects, you should be a bit more careful. Because once the course is dropped, maybe one of the program learning goals is dropped fully. Conversely, if I take one of the PLGs of TAPME, the PLG of communication, we thought this was an important PLG because we added this about 4 or 5 years back. I think I was there in the first stint when it was added. This was not there before, but we added it only because we felt that students of today are quite smart, but they lack the written skills and oral skills. Oral in the sense they have slangs. They have the typical email slangs and that WhatsApp slangs, and also they are not able to speak correctly the one full sentence. They know good English, but they are not speaking professionally. Second is if you give them something to write, they write it nicely. There's no spelling mistake, but the way they write, I think, is very different nowadays. So we thought it's extremely essential for us as an institution to also have this learning goal, because after all, at the end of the day, after all learning, if they're not able to present properly the report or the oral communication, then they will have a problem. Now we introduced this program learning goal, but the bigger question for us was how we'll be able to achieve this goal. So introducing program goals is fine, but how do you achieve it? So we had to have a lot of courses, subjects introduced in our program that measures communication. But we also have a problem that every semester or every term, you can't have a communication subject. So what we did here was we introduced 3 communication subjects in the first year, but we also ensured that the communication faculty assess the learning of the students in terms of speaking and written communication across all the subjects in all the semesters. So today in TAPME, I think when you have any faculty having a presentation, the communication faculty is sitting in the class to assess the communication of that student in my subject. So it is not essential that every time a program learning goal is there, you have to have a subject for that. It can be assessed through my course. If somebody is teaching sales and distribution and there is a presentation of a project, the communication faculty can go there and assess the PLG number 5, communication. Am I clear to all of you? So this is how I think the structure works. The structure works like this basically. Okay. Now, if you look at, I think if you just look at the course outline format. If you can just look at the template which I sent all of you. If you look at any institution or any course outline, I think all of you should be following this, but I just thought I'll send it across to you. It all starts like this. A typical template is going to have details about, one second, I just. So if you look at the template, what I sent you, it typically starts off with a very small introduction. So that is not a very important thing. Then it goes to course objectives. One second. It has a introduction, it has a course objective, then it comes down to course learning objectives after that, the CLO what I call there, and then you get down maybe to the course contents, which is basically picked up from your syllabus of MBA, and then it gets down to the evaluation components basically. Now in the evaluation components we should have seen two things. One is an end-term evaluation and the internal assessments. So we can divide the entire assessments into two parts. I've just shown it the KVD way, what happens there. And then after that, we get into the session plan, right? And then we finish off with the other parts. Okay. So typically this is the course outline. This is the most important document of an NBA accreditation. It looks very simple, but an NBA accreditation, when the agency comes down to check or when they come down to inspect, this is the first thing they see in the academic part, the course outline. Now, what they look at in this outline is not any other thing, but they look at second point. They look at your course objectives. They are not much bothered about the introduction part. So they look at your objectives and then they immediately go to your course learning outcomes. So these two sections are very important. And what they do is after that, they also look at the assessment components. So it is time, I think, for all of you now to focus in the outline. Only thing, all of you are preparing the outlines, there's no problem. But I would request all of you to put in more attention to these three parts in the outline. What I mean to say is course objectives, the course learning outcomes, and the assessment components. Now, I would like to slightly differ here on some aspects. I think I had a strong debate in the place where I worked before. The program objectives can be of the university, but the course objectives can be yours. Nobody can stop Chaitanya Business School from having an objective which is slightly higher than others across institutions. So as a faculty, I can have an objective that is pretty at a slightly higher level. I can also have a course learning outcome that is at a pretty higher level than other institutions. Nobody stops me from that. I can also have assessment components that are pretty stronger than what is done in other institutions. It may be difficult for my students, but I can train them for that. Now, this call the institution has to take. So the institution has to take a very tough call in terms of at what level am I going to play this course? In terms of at what level I'm going to set the objectives. What sort of objectives does the course have? Is it that I'm going to just teach the same old thing? Is it that I'm going to speak the same thing which is there in the book? Or is it that I'm going to keep the book away for some time and teach something which is not from the book by and large? I mean to say not everything, at least 30%. Now this is where I think if you remember, you would have had a lot of discussions in the pedagogy meet also where people keep saying, I mean to say the bosses keep speaking, the deans, that the course, the syllabus is not the end. So I think they are not wrong, they are right, because that is the start point. The syllabus is the minimum that you can do. What you do more over and above that is more important in NBA. So you can take one typical call, I think, in a course outline as an institution again, that 70% of the outline is going to be as per the syllabus or 60% as per the syllabus of KOD, because we need to stick on to KOD. because things are going to be asked from that. But can you take a call where you can add another 40% or 30% at your own institutional level? Because of which, can your objectives become much more stronger, and hence can your outcomes, learning outcomes, become much more stronger? Because if you want to make your learning outcomes and objectives stronger, the only way out for you is a different style of doing the course. There's no way out. There's absolutely no way out. I think I'll just recall my discussion with Professor Corvi. I think we discussed this in KLE IMSR in the boardroom. And I think one of the days, I think Rudy was asking me, how come you can do this? I said, I'm trying to do it. This is exactly what I was trying to do it that day. Somewhere, I think you will have to lift. I think the first level is the faculty. I think all of you are here, esteemed faculty are here. So you are the first people who can do the change. Because if you don't lift your course to a certain level, which is higher than what you're doing today, nobody else can do it. But you can be a bit more careful in lifting it to a level which is not too high, so that you can still deal with the students correctly. That is left to you, right? Second is, important person is the director. The director, I think, is okay with this thing. It becomes much more easier. Third point in the course outline is, it is not just about having high outcomes. It is about how do you measure the outcome. I can have a lot of outcomes saying that you can do this, you should do that, I will teach you how to do that and all that things. But end of the day, the NBA people are going to see what were your assessment methods to check the outcomes. So writing good outcomes is not important, but also having good assessment components which support the outcome becomes still more important. So it's getting into the pit, it's getting into the well slowly. It's a good well, but you should get into the well. So the more higher you set the outcomes, you'll have to have a more higher order assessment component. You can't just say assignment, which I'll do that, just give me some write-up. No. The only simple reason for that is an assignment possibly will not be able to differentiate between students, and also the assignment will not be able to capture the outcome that you intend. Assume that if you intend to capture the outcome of problem identification and solution and all those things, and you give a simple assignment which can be taken from the book. Now there is a mismatch between the outcome that you expect in the course versus the assessment you have given. Now this is where the strictness of the course outline starts, basically. And this is where the faculty has to be extremely, extremely innovative, intelligent, and smart. This is where the faculty becomes extremely important. That's the reason today we feel sometimes that if you have a bunch of faculty who are good, I think they can drive the system. We also need faculty here at this juncture who can take a bit of risk. There are two, I think, school of thoughts here. One school of thought is, forget it, students will not do it. I think Professor Corvi will have this discussion in the faculty meeting always. You will always have faculty coming and saying, sir, nobody is doing it. But you also have a set of people who say, sir, I'm trying and it looks like 60% of the class is responding. I will tell you a classical case. I'll tell you my own case just to share with you. I was teaching in TAPME, and in TAPME, I think all of you know very well. People, I think you all come there also some time back. We teach Harvard cases. It's a norm. We have to teach Harvard cases because we have a license with Harvard Business School. So after having taught for 6 full years with Harvard cases, I came down to Hubli, and in the institution where I was working, I thought it is a pretty tall order to teach a Harvard case, but I thought nothing wrong in trying. So I put this across to the faculty, and as usual, the faculty keeps saying the same thing. No, it will not happen and all. I put it in my own course, Marketing Management, MM1, Marketing Management course that you have for 4 credits. I put a Harvard case. Of course, I put a case which was easier. It's not difficult for students, right? Believe me, I think it was for 2 sections because we had 2 sections also there. Extremely good. Of course, I did a lot of preparations. I gave them about 15 days before. In TAPME, we give them 3 days before. I gave them 15 days before. I told them, look, this is how we have to read the case. This is how we have to make the points. I think a lot of hand-holding has to happen. I told them how to go through that. And next 1 week, I was available to them whenever they used to come with the case and say, sir, this part I'm not understanding. This part I'm not understanding. So I tell them not the answer, but how to read through that. So a lot of hand-holding used to happen, like the lockdown now, what is happening before the lockdown, right? And then on the fine day when the case happened, it was a 2-hour case. I could not believe it. 2-hour full case, no discussion, no PowerPoint presentation. I am standing in front of the stage, all the students in front of me, and in all the students have a case in their hand, and the class starts. Fantastic class. Of course, not 100%, 75% of the class. And it was great because for me, I think students answering back, students preparing, students flipping through the papers. Now, a case study approach, for God's sake, is not just a small question to be answered for 10 marks. The case study approach is more better a pedagogy if you teach than ask in the examination. I think, unfortunately, in the system that we have worked before, a case study is normally used to ask maybe in the examination, and students just write the questions to the answers asked. There are questions asked at the end, 4 or 5 questions. Students find answers to the questions, and it's a comprehension question, I think, which we have done in our 10th standard, not now. But a real case pedagogy can be understood when a faculty teaches in the class. Of course, you'll have a lot of students who will not be able to answer. I think I had a classical case. Today, the boy is working in Vishal Mega Mart at Gurugram, the place where I worked before. That boy was a typical problem with English. I think all of us have these challenges in our own institution. It's not to say. But what I appreciated in the student is when everybody raised their hands, the student said in Kannada to me, I think in 2017, 2 years before, "Sir, one chance nan kodri na try martini matadlikke." I said to all the students, "With your permission, I will give him the chance." Student said yes. So I gave him the chance. Believe me, that boy had done so much of preparations. His only problem was he was not able to answer in English. Now, once you come to know in the first semester that these are the challenges in your students, only English, not preparation, you can now imagine the level you can take them through. So when I'm speaking about course learning outcomes and assessments, you will always have the challenge of looking at the student's level and deciding not to do or to do, or taking the challenge and saying, let me raise the student's level to a certain level. It's a gradual approach. It's a very gradual approach. I think it's left to the institution to take it. Otherwise, believe me, writing a course outcome with all these things what I sent to you is not difficult. On the paper, it is there. Absolutely no problem. But if you want it to be realized, it has to go to the ground. And NBA has one system. They will go to the class without any faculty and check with students. They will open their outcomes. It happened in TAPI just 2 years before. They stop everybody. They say, we will go to the class. Tell us which class we should go. And then the team goes to the class and they ask which class is happening. The student says, "Sir, it is the business B2B marketing class happening." In fact, the NBA team asks the students, "Please open your course outline," and they start finding out what is this outcome and how are you assessing that. So at the level of students also, the things are checked. So we have to be a bit more careful. I'm just trying to use both things together. One is the NBA part, one is the discussion part. Do you have any questions at this stage? Maybe I'll just like to wait for 5 minutes before we proceed. Any questions at this stage?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Anirudh, tell me, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you, sir?
I am fine, tell me.
Sir, as you said, assessment can be deferred. It can differ from subject to subject, or should it be the same thing across? What would you have to say when it comes to NBA?
No, Anirudh, the assessment depends on the outcome that you have mentioned in your course. And hence, the assessments can differ between subjects, because if 2 subjects have 2 different outcomes to be achieved, it is very obvious that the assessment components can be different from each other.
Correct.
That is why, Anirudh, I think just to give an example, marketing, I think you are a marketing faculty also.
Yes, sir.
Marketing faculty normally use cases in the class because their bigger outcome to be achieved is, can the student identify the marketing problem and solve it in the field?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So normally we get into the best assessment component is a case for that. Give the case, and in the case there's obviously a problem. And the students have to identify the problem and come out with alternatives and choose the best alternative. Okay.
Yes.
But when it comes to statistics class, the faculty may not find the case to be a good assessment component because his outcomes are different there. His outcome there is not to identify a problem and get the solution and all those things. It could be a very different one, right?
Correct.
Same is the case with finance faculty. They may not use more of cases because their outcomes could be different.
True.
To that extent, in any institution, you may find one group of faculty. The specialization could be using extensively cases as a pedagogy, while another group of faculty in the same institution could not use it. There is no harm. As long as both of these faculty groups are achieving their outcomes. Outcomes are important.
Got it.
So for a finance faculty, if he is not using a case, maybe the director or the dean can ask the faculty, tell me which is the equivalent component you're using to assess your outcome, if not a case. Got it?
Got it, sir.
And the finance faculty could say, I'm using a simulation because I would feel it is much more better than a case. It gives me more outcome.
Okay.
So essentially, I think outcomes, the assessments are based on outcomes, and it could differ between specializations.
Okay. So one more thing, as you said, the assessments can be different. Now, I also teach written, spoken, oral communication. Okay. So only getting to know or only assessing their written communication is not enough, because the subject itself says that it is spoken communication too. So one of the parameter I can use Viva as an assessment tool, right?
Yeah. See, written communication skills is not difficult to assess for you. What I was speaking of in my discussion was, would you want to assess the outcome of students on communication only in your course or across courses? I'll ask a simple question. I'll ask a simple question to you. If a lot of students in your course have got about 85 above out of 100 marks, but have failed to really produce good reports in some other subjects which have a report component, like strategic management and other subjects, would you call the student as a good student who has achieved the outcome of communication, written communication?
No.
Then how would you assess that?
So as you put it rightly,
you have to go across.
Check to it that yes.
Because written communication is generic, it is across courses, across subjects. Of course, there are some small nitty-gritties between a finance report and a marketing report, but by and large, it is not very different. Okay. So what is the plan of the institution to assess the program learning goal of communication? Is it just through one course that you are teaching, or two courses, 2 credit each in your case? Or is it that you are trying to extend your PLG across courses, across semesters? That's a matter of choice at the institution level. Okay. That would also mean that you'll have to have a lot of structural changes in the way the faculty handles the system. Anirudh is seen practically in most classes later. Is it okay for all? Is a bigger question mark.
Okay.
That's the reason I'm saying this is a very strong cultural thinking. Actually, I like it very much somehow. Because in our place today, I think the door is not open; it is closed in our place, but we don't lock it anyway. But in our marketing group, I think any marketing faculty is free to walk into any marketing faculty's class. Just walk into anybody's class. Simply because I have asked him to come, because that person is good in what you call numbers. Let's say my colleague, and I am teaching something with numbers in my class, and I have an outcome which is related to numbers in my course outline. So I would tell my faculty, my colleague, please assess it and give it to me. I'll just pick it up from him. Because I find myself to be not very good in that. That's how it runs.
So end of the day, it is giving the best to the students.
Yes, it is student centric. Absolutely. There's no point on that. It is the point, fulcrum point. And the assumption is faculty are the best people to give it best to the students.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, good evening.
Yeah, tell me.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Guraj. Tell me.
Sir, I have one question. Do you have chapter-wise objectives also? Does NBA check chapter-wise learning objectives? Because in the class, I take, say, 2 or 3 chapter-wise objectives, learning objectives. So, do they check that also, or it's an optional thing?
See, I may not be able to get into the nitty-gritties of NBA documentation, but what I understand is it is not chapter-wise, it is course-level objectives. It may be in one chapter, it may be 4 chapters. It is independent of chapter. So, in the document that I sent you just now, the marketing research what I sent, you can see about only 2 objectives there, right?
Correct, sir. Correct.
2 objectives are across all the chapters of marketing research.
Only two COs. Correct, sir. Correct.
Yeah, because my entire assessment of COs is based on only those two aspects. But chapters are about 8 to 10 in the textbook. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Got the point?
Got it, sir. Got it. Got it.
So at the course level, you should be clear as a faculty what objectives you want to achieve through the course, which could be one, not normally it is two minimum. It could be more than two. It depends.
Okay. Fine, sir. Fine. Thank you.
And Prashant, what I feel is objectives of the course when we are going to design, whether has there any integrity between one course and the other course. Say for example, marketing management you are talking about. Then we are going to have marketing research. Then we are going to have retail marketing, so on and so forth. And whether we need to try to maintain some sequence like that, financial accounting, financial management. Then we go to derivatives and international financial management, so on and so forth. Whether right from the basics we try to cover here in the financial accounting stage, then little up in financial management, then little up in derivatives, and so on and so forth.
You are right, Professor. I think you are coming to the point again. I remember the first meeting when I came in 17. If you look at the entire design of the MBA program, it is so well designed that normally in most places that the first semester is foundation courses.
Okay.
And the second semester courses, whether I like it or not, are one level up, as you said, next level.
Yeah.
And then we should be going like that actually.
Correct.
So you are right. When the student is studying in the third semester some subject on derivatives or maybe security analysis and portfolio management, he obviously has to know a lot of things that goes into the subject. It can't be taught again.
Yes.
So to that extent, again in the MBA thinking, they ask you, is this not taken in some other subject before? Why is it being taught again? So it is irrelevant. That's you are right, very right. That whenever you go to the higher order subjects, especially the secondary subjects, the assumption is the basics are taken care of. Also, the outcomes are taken care of. So when you go to the second year courses, the learning outcomes are of the taller order, not shorter order. You can't assess the second year students on a very low level outcome. But first year students, you can take a chance because they are in the very first semester and hence the outcome is not highly expected out of them.
Yeah.
So if you look at the outcomes also across courses, the first semester courses outcomes are at, let us say, 20% expectation. Second semester 40%, hypothetically. Third is 60 and fourth is obviously at the end. Which means you are taking the student from a lower order to the higher order of learning. Whereas today, if you look at the way we do our subjects, we have a quiz even in the fourth semester sometimes. We have an assignment during the fourth semester. Whereas in the fourth semester, the student should be doing slightly the taller order outcome. Whereas the expectation is not to generate an assignment out of the net, Google, but something much more than that. So if an institution is able to demonstrate that increasing order of outcomes across semesters, that's a great thing. It's also seen by the NBA, I heard.
Yes. Thank you.
Prashant,
Good evening, Prashant sir. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Tell
Sir, my name is Naveen Kumar Hangandi, sir. Sir, I just want a suggestion from you. As you said, 70% of what is there in the syllabus and remaining 30%, we need to teach something different which is not there in the syllabus. Sir, I take care of marketing subjects for first years and second years. So what I normally do is, as you said, I do the same, sir. But unfortunately, the university syllabus and the time span is set in such a way that it becomes tough for me to go in depth in the subject, sir.
Okay.
So if I am teaching marketing management as a subject, so syllabus is something limited and I try to get in depth, but time doesn't allow. So how to tackle in such situation? Because I need to come out with some cases also in between and also some practical exposures, marketing exposures for them.
See, Naveen, I would like to look at it from two angles. One is, let me look at the marketing management first year course.
Sir.
As of now in KUD, I think we have only one course in marketing management. That is in the first semester, right? Nothing is in the second semester, right?
No, sir.
So the entire student profile in Karnataka University learns marketing management only for 48 hours, 60 hours in the first year. Right?
Yes,
so
sir.
The challenge for the marketing group in KUD is much more higher because for the entire one full year, the student learns only 60 hours of marketing. But at the end of the day, once he comes to the second year, the job opportunities available in marketing are pretty huge, or even for the internships for that matter. At the end of 1 year, internships are 60% of marketing, right? Now you tell me, if this is the practical situation in the market today where 60% of internships are in marketing areas, whereas the input for a marketing student is only 60 hours in the first year, that to first semester, how are you going to bridge the gap of learning? The only way out is,
so that's the problem right now.
That's what I'm saying. So for the first year, what you should be doing is marketing management. It is very extensive, the MBA program. The MBA marketing course outline is very extensive. There is nothing to add to that actually. When there's nothing to add to the syllabus, the only thing you can do is you can change the way you teach that, assessment methods. This is what I used to do basically. Okay, you change the methods. By changing the methods, the student is able to learn much more better. If you look at the marketing management, each chapter, which your modules or chapters are there, can you not do some chapters differently?
Yes, sir.
You teach pricing for that matter, right?
Can, sir.
There's a pricing, third P you teach pricing. When you teach pricing, you normally go with a book and it says 4 methods and that methods and all those things, right?
Yeah.
How do you take a student to a situation where they feel pricing is so much important? Because in marketing, pricing is very important.
Exactly, sir.
So this would mean not about teaching, it is about the experience they get on pricing, which is about a method of teaching.
Sir. Yeah. Normally in B2B negotiations happen, pricing happens. I try to get them to that scenario. So
on a common page, if we both are on the common page now, in some courses you can't add anything, as I said sometime before, because the course is already full. Especially fundamental courses are full in KUD. So in the fundamental courses, the only way out is change the style of teaching, change the assessment schemes. But when it comes to the secondary courses, where you have a lot of scope to add the newer things. For example, you have something called as supply chain management, right? The supply chain management course, or maybe, right? The distribution management is there, right? I don't know how much of e-commerce is included to distribution management. So what you do is you add more things which are latest. So my point of view is wherever you have scope to add the latest, make it 70-30. Otherwise, change the methodology of teaching. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, your outcomes will not be achieved.
Okay, sir. Fine. Yeah, correct, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. This is Mrutyunjay here.
Yeah, tell me, Mrutyunjay.
Yeah, I want to clarify this. Whether our course learning objectives, if they are all going to align with the whatever course outcome we have set in, and any of the program learning goal. So any one of the program learning goal, if they are going to meet, then that's fine. Or else all of the program learning goals have to be aligned with that.
Not really, Mrutyunjay. It's not essential that a single course has to meet all the program learning goals. Very difficult.
Okay.
It is like a jack of all case, which is very difficult to achieve. But if your course is able to contribute at least 2 program learning goals through learning, if you're able to attach your course to 2 PLGs, you have done a great job to the institution.
Okay, sir.
Because like you, other courses will have attached themselves to other PLGs.
Okay, correct, sir.
So when NBA comes, they will not look at the overall picture from the course point of view. They look at it from the angle of the institution.
Okay.
So what is asked to the dean is, for PLG1, tell me how many courses are attached.
Okay, sir. Right. Okay.
PLG2, how many courses? So the dean or maybe the person who's handling the NBA has to show to the NBA team, PLG1, how many of my courses are dealing with? PLG2, how many? So if the dean is able to look at a situation where there are enough courses in each of the PLGs, I think the job is done.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
At a course level, if you are able to attach yourself to more than one PLG, it is great, because to that extent you are increasing the learning outcome.
Okay.
Because each PLG is a learning outcome, as I said some time back.
Okay.
But not essentially all the outcomes. Definitely not.
Okay. Thank you.
Prashant, Ramakant.
Yeah, tell me, Ramakant.
Similar to this PLG attached to the course, likewise, the various assessment areas, like should there be 1, 2 specific, or we can go any extent and demonstrative? Because we have got at least so many components of assessment: project work, role plays, games, assignments, seminars, so many things. Likewise, how many we can pick as a better combination? Let us say in your case of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, the number of assessment areas, okay. Can we pick more than 2 or 3, depending on the subject which is we are handling?
No, there is no binding on the number of assessment components as such.
Okay.
But as a rule of thumb, it is expected that the course outcomes are limited to maximum of 3 or 4.
Okay.
Because you can't spread your course too much thin. So 3 to 4 objectives for a course is good enough. 2 to 3 is very ideal.
Yeah.
See, that's where I think the faculty has a challenge, that I think everything I want to teach, but let the course be concentrated only on 3 objectives.
Very true.
To that extent, Ramakant, your course outline or your syllabus for marketing and my syllabus for marketing is very different.
Yes.
Only because in your case, you want the students to learn everything. Okay. But in our case, what we do is we set the objectives first and then we put the chapters. To some extent, some chapters are not there at all in our syllabus at all.
Correct.
Because we deem that can be given maybe through some other things like Coursera or maybe whatever it is. So 2 to 3 objectives ideal, right? Now for these 2 to 3 objectives, you can have more outcomes. See, outcomes can be for every objective, there can be 2 outcomes. Or there can be 1:1 outcome. For 3 objectives, 3 outcomes. A more realistic fashion is for every outcome, for every objective have an outcome. And for every outcome, it is left to you now whether you want to assess it through only one assessment component or more than one. This is where sometimes you are seen as a strict faculty by some students if you have 4 components. You are seen as a lenient faculty if you have only 1 component.
Correct.
This is where if you just take about 3 components and say my assessment is over, it is easy, but has it assessed the outcomes is a question mark. Now, as you said in the KVD syllabus, they have given role play and assign all those things. It is important for you to pick up those components of assessment which can measure your outcome.
Yeah, correct.
If role play is done just for the heck of it without anybody measuring the outcome, if students start laughing and giggling in the role play and they are not really gone into the role seriously and discussed it at the serious length, then I think the outcome is 0. It has served the purpose of an activity, but outcome point of view, I think it is 0.
Correct.
So there are serious limitations of certain pedagogical methods like role plays, because it is found that if students are not serious about the role play, if they are not done enough preparations before they come and sit on the role and start discussing the role play becomes more of a fun activity. So it is now left to the faculty whether to still show it as an activity and give some marks for it or keep it away. That's the choice of the faculty.
Thank you.
Yes, Prashant, as far as the students' evaluation is concerned,
yeah.
So as we are affiliated institutions and we, as an institution, we have only small component of evaluation.
Yes.
Whereas the majority of component is all about external evaluation.
Yes, yes.
So whether we need to give justification even for that also, or we need to give justification only for the internal evaluation component which we have in our control.
No, internal evaluation only, not external.
Yeah. External
That's
we
why I
not
showed
have to touch about.
External you can't show because it is mandated by the university.
Correct.
So when one way it is good for you, one way it is not good for you. That I can say that.
As a course outcome, I mean, program outcome is concerned, it may not be good because we do not have autonomy to change time and again and update it and all. But at the same time, for the purpose of this accreditation process, we definitely say it is taken care by the university, and we are only working on the internal component.
Yeah, the only challenge you will find is you will be sometimes constrained in every course of not taking the outcome to a certain level because you don't have enough bandwidth in your internal assessment.
Okay.
See, because in our IA you already have attendance 5 marks out of the course system. So what remains for you is I think about another 20 marks out of 25 marks internal assessment.
Correct.
Now in that 20 marks, what all can you assess is a matter of choice. So that is a constraint because 50% is taken away by the university directly.
Yeah.
In our place, we have that leverage because in our place, end terms can be as low as 30% weightage. So we have a bigger bandwidth for doing it. But bigger bandwidth would mean more load on the faculty because I may have to take more than 6-7 components of assessment, which becomes loading sometimes. Because taking 70 components it becomes difficult sometimes also.
University also say only 2 components of IA, IA1, IA2. So they are very much interested in that. Have you completed IA1 or have you completed IA2? That's all. They don't even ask, they don't even specify what is that
Oh,
IA.
that's what
Yeah.
Professor, what is, if you now just recall the discussion that I had just now,
Correct.
sometimes I feel, it's a very personal opinion of mine, the IA components of the university don't seem to be looking at outcome things at all.
Correct.
They look at the process of having one IA, if I take one quiz and take one assignment, my IA is over, but has it measured the outcomes?
Yeah.
So if institutions continue to be doing that way, as per university requirements, which is easy, then you may find an uphill task in the NBA accreditation, definitely.
Correct.
So they will not accept it.
Correct.
They will not accept a very low learning outcome which has quiz as an assessment component. So you will have to at least show the level 3 in the Bloom's taxonomy, which I have sent to you. You have to go to at least level number 3 and above.
Yeah.
The first level is remember there. So if I ask explain, and if I say define and all that things, NBA will say this is all level 1, which is at the level of 10 plus 2, not at the level of MBA. So we have to go to level number 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. 6 is difficult, but 3, 4 and 5, they look at that levels of assessment.
Correct.
For that, I think you need to really change the way you take assessments in terms of, so that's the reason I think we have a lot of project-based assignments in institutions. The cases came only because of that actually.
Yeah.
Because cases are able to measure taxonomy levels up to 3, level number 3 and level number 4. They force the students to think, they force the students to discuss alternatives, debate alternatives. They force the student to learn that what they thought was wrong, what others said was right. So this is learning basically. And hence I think through the case method, you are able to show to the student that you are not right, somebody else was right.
Correct.
But some part of it was something like that, all these things.
Yeah. And one more concern, Professor, if I have group discussion as one of the IA component, or presentation as one of the IA component, or maybe role play as one of the IA component, in such case, how to maintain record of that? If suppose it's a written component or assignment, I can definitely maintain a record. Because when the NBA is going to have a look at all these records also, right? So now the question comes how to create record for that type of component if I select.
Okay.
That is presentation, group discussion, role play. So how we are going to keep a record of all of that? And
normally,
to show this?
See, we have this problem in ASSB accreditation actually. Normally, all these accreditation agencies don't look at group assessments as a component.
Okay.
They say you can have a group activity, but they also say that you should have an assessment which is at the end of the day individual. In the sense, you can have a group presentation for a project work, but you should also have one more level where you assess each student individually whether he or she has done it in the group. So there's one more intervention level that you need to have. Group level is one, you can give some weightage for the group presentation, but individually whether the student has contributed or not, you should have one more level. So all the assessments what we are doing now is individual level assessments, not group assessments.
Okay.
So that is one challenge we have. So we have to really have a method where there should be some amount of individual assessments also. So one of the ways you do it for a presentation is you essentially, this is what I used to do it. I do it even today. Any group presentation, we ask all the students to present.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what really happens is just 2 or 3 of them come in the front, remaining stand at the back and go off.
Correct.
Second method also is you can ask the group to come and tell them to present together. Once the group comes on the stage, you can say, I want this student to start. This is what I do. I will not define the, they will have come with a definite order. I will do this, you will do this. You change the order. And then once you give a chance to all the people over 2 or 3 minutes each like that, then you allow them to have their own order. So by this, you're having a document which shows individual assessment. You also have a document which is group assessment.
Okay.
Of course, the load is high. It will not happen in just 15 minutes. So your presentation time is to increase from 10 minutes to at least 20-25 minutes per group.
Correct.
So these are the challenges basically. They all come with a group of challenges sometimes.
Correct.
But yes, it definitely tells the recruiter or the person who is assessing you, the group was good, but only 3 of them were good in the group because we have both individual assessment and the group assessment. Now, regarding class participation, I do not know how many of you have this component in your assessment. The class participation is one component where you give some marks to students who participate in your sessions. Now, sometimes this is a very common component in our place here. Some faculty do it only during cases because in a case, students are expected to participate. So if I give some weightage to that, if I say you have 10% weightage to class participation, you find students motivated to participate. Whereas some other faculty in our place say that participation is not just for cases, it is for all the sessions. I do that basically like that. I have it for all the sessions. So you may have to have a method where every class when you go and teach, you also have to keep a track of who has spoken, who has not spoken. It becomes a bit difficult. So one of the methods you can do is, I think you already have it in your place. You have to have a defined place for every student, especially for a regular class, first year classes. There's no problem because everyone is there in the class. So have a defined place, and then as a faculty, you know very well which row has answered, which student has answered, because you don't remember them by the names, but you remember the locations. So I remember very well after my class today, left side first student answered, last row second student answered. I come back, I just mark it off. So these are some methods you'll have to have, I think, to do it. Obviously, in the second way, in your place, I don't know whether all the faculty can enjoy this privilege. You can just ask one of your staff to accompany you to the class if they are free. And if you can just give them the layout of the class, the staff will just keep marking how many have spoken, how many times. But it's a bit difficult because the resources are high. But in case somebody is willing to do that for you or somebody, that is a good thing. Now, this will ensure that students get marks even for class participation and the class is not dull. You are forcing them to participate.
Yeah,
What Anirudh was asking some time back about the oral communication can also be assessed here. So I can link myself to the PLG of communication through class participation. So in my course also, I am able to find out how many students are able to effectively communicate to me orally. Written, of course, I have the reports with me. So I may not need any faculty to come to my class and assess me. I can do it myself through a CP component. So it has to have some weightage in my assessment component. These are the methods you can keep on doing, basically. It's not much innovation that way. That's the reason I was just speaking of the faculty. The central point is the faculty here. The faculty takes the charge, I think, then the system starts. See, once the system starts changing, then there's no problem.
Okay.
But it's very important, I think, for all of you to start it together. It should not be seen that in some pockets it is doing and somebody else is not doing, and then you'll have a problem. So you can define a minimum base level to start. All of you decide that we are going to go to this level and kickstart that off, and then you can increase it slowly. That's a better option.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
I'd like to ask you a question. I'm Dr. Huli, Dr. Prashant. See, we have a very big problem when the syllabus is established and the reference books. How do you go about getting the best reference books? You know, because the students have to be updated. We have reference books which are quite old. You know, they don't serve the purpose at the moment. Now, how do you overcome such a problem?
Professor, I think one of the ways I tend to come out of this is do not rely much on the hard copy books. In fact, I think there are a lot of, I think, if the faculty is updated, if you are updated on the aspect already, you should already be having a lot of URLs to your account. So what we do in our place basically is we have put all of them on the e-mode. The latest article comes on the net than in the book. So if a faculty is able to have a lot of collection of articles connected to the subject, and if you can make a nice library of URLs alone, and then beside the URL you are able to write what the URL is all about, what does it speak about, then you are able to pass it on to the students whenever the time comes. So in your course outline, you can as well mention the URLs which are connected, maybe to each of the chapters, or maybe each of the modules. I would prefer this than the book actually, because book will always have a constraint of resource. But URLs will not have. I think then all the students today are on the
OB, and OB has and we have a large repertoire of what you call teaching methods. One is the textbook method, and second is the case method. Third are the different games or different exercises which you give them. And then we have something like sensitivity training or group dynamics and things like that, which we can actually put it in the class sometimes. you cannot use for sensitivity training about 60 people or so. We can take a group of 8 to 10 people and make a small sensitivity training and tell them what it is. Because sensitivity training by itself, it takes a week's time or more than 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
So we really cannot handle it in the classroom. So if we sort of what we call help them to understand the concepts behind what is sensitivity training and things like that. That's what we do and try to get them involved in the class. And live cases, I mean, cases are something very, what we call important. It teaches a lot of, it's got a lot of learning value compared to the textbooks. But textbooks we cannot ignore because
I'm not saying ignore.
Fundamentals.
No, I'm not saying ignore. I'm saying
research articles are something I think.
No, I'm not saying ignore. I'm saying you can complement your textbooks with a lot of latest stuff on the net.
Yes, I get you.
Textbooks is a must, but sometimes you have constraints of resources. Not everybody gets access to it. To that extent, this will be much more better.
Yes. All right.
Prashant sir.
Tell me.
Do you actually give any article to analyze, I mean to say as a presentation to the students, or do they write papers for you?
See, articles.
Two questions here.
Articles normally are suggested for every session if it is relevant. Okay. And these articles are normally not for presentation, but they are for discussion. For example, if I am teaching, let us say, perception today in consumer behavior class, and I have something to teach through the PowerPoint also, I also have an article sent to them. It is there in the outline already. So the students are expected to read the article, and when I go to the class, what happens is nobody presents it. The assumption is everybody has come prepared. We discuss it in the class and it is assessed for CP, class participation. It is extremely important for a faculty to include a lot of things in the course outline, but not fail to attach it to assessments. If you don't attach to assessments, the student psychology today is they will not work.
Yeah, correct, sir. Correct.
3 or 4 of them will answer, remaining will keep silent, and it's a free ride again, as usual. So it's always better. An article that you are suggesting, keep it for CP. So once I think you have the first session and there are only 3 people speaking on the article, next day morning, put it up on the notice board. The following 3 students have got so many marks for CP, remaining are blank. And the next article is in the 4th session. You will find more participation.
Why I asked the question is, the kind of students we have, it's a mixed bag. And what I've done is I'm taking CB again, same, coincidentally it's perception only. So I've given one article to assess to one Kaveshri is one good student we have. So she'll be doing a presentation tomorrow, because the moment I started explaining, almost 80-70% of the class couldn't understand anything. Probably there's some problem with Zoom, the connectivity goes on and on, but still they are unable to go through it. So I've tried this. I've asked her to prepare some slides and try to just give some insights. That way, I was trying that.
No,
so
Guraj, I think on the Zoom, the challenges are different anyway, I can understand. But I'm assuming that very soon you are back to the class to teach.
We are eagerly waiting for that, sir.
Please don't give it for presentation. You are wasting an opportunity for students to participate. You are wasting an opportunity for students to have the pressure of coming prepared. You are losing that. You do this for 2-3 times, students will, I think in my own class, I used to see students putting their head down. How many times will they put their head down? I used to ask in the class, how many times are you going to put head down in front of me? There has to be a bit of pressure in the class for learning.
Correct, sir. Correct.
So I think it's here to do it, basically. And believe me, I think when I say all these things, it sounds sometimes, will it work? I will tell you with confidence, it will work. Take it from me, because I've done this in the same place as you people are. It is not from TAPME. It has worked. And the best testimonial for the batch is 2017-19, which I taught 2 full years. The batch, I think. I really cherish that batch, because I told the batch on day 1 when I joined there, I'm going to make a lot of changes. They said, sir, we are with you. I remember that still in the auditorium.
Okay.
And I kept on making a lot of changes. All the things that I told you just now. First time,
Correct.
course outline got changed, this got changed. And the students are with me. 20% are not there. Forget about them.
Yes.
20% are not there. You are not going to fail them anyway. Let's be very practical. You are not going to fail them. They'll get lesser and you are going to give them whatever minimum or whatever it is. Don't think of the minimum. Think of the maximum. Minimum, give whatever is required, but don't reduce the maximum in the process.
Yes.
Just think of one thing. If there's a very good student in Chetan Business School and who is looking at a lot of great things to happen and it's just not happening, what are you doing to him? So if there are about 15-20 Chetan Business School students who are looking at great learning out of marketing management, I think you are doing injustice to them. But that doesn't mean that the remaining 80 are going to get less marks. Give them whatever they deserve, finish them off. But to the people who are aspiring, don't leave them. This was my.
This
is the way I used to do it, basically.
In last semester, when I took principles of banking, I did this. I gave them the newspaper articles to read, and everyone discussed in the class. I tried this. We had a very good result there. But I thought, yes, I'll change the course, sir. I'll change. I think better to change it so that I'll do it, sir.
Try it out. See, I'm not saying it will work. Please try it out. I think it will be, I think, motivating for you. See, Professor Korvi, just to you also, you're a great teacher yourself.
Yeah.
How many times, Dr. Korvi, in your last so many years of experience, did you think about your motivation as a teacher? You think of students' motivation. What about our motivation as teachers?
Yeah. Correct.
Our motivation comes basically when we have a new pedagogy to teach and students start responding to us. That moment is so. That's the reason I shared with you the case. I never thought it was going to be great. When I saw it in the class, I told all my faculty that day. Whether they liked or not, every or not is important. I don't care. But I told everybody. I told this is what happened.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, basically. Now, if you just look at the when you go back, I think have a look at the marketing research which I sent you. Just to think, I have written two objectives there. The first objective is all about understanding the nuances of marketing research, the steps and all. The second objective is to have a lot of qualities to build up a proposal. So in teaching a marketing research course, I was very simple in telling the batch. This is a 2017 batch which I taught. I told the students the objective of the course is to make you run the marketing research course. If somebody gives you a project for marketing research, you are able to do the project, you are able to run the entire project, you are able to generate a report, you are able to present it. These are my outcomes. So I didn't get deeper into statistical methods, that method, this method, all those things. It is there, it comes in between. But at the end of the day, the student should know, given a project in the internship, he should be able to take it through, right from identification of the problem until methodology, take it to the last point, do a nice report, present it, come back with a PPO, I'm going to say placement opportunity. So if you look at my outcomes, it's very clear, 3 outcomes. If you look at my assessment components also, look at it carefully, it says very clearly, I have given some weightage to the research proposal, some percentage to research proposal, I have given some weightage maybe to the mid semester proposal, I have given some weightage to the final proposal. My entire weightage of 40% out of 50% is on only report. And report split into 3 parts, research proposal level, mid level, final level. It can be that way. I have no case, no article, nothing. Entire focus is on the students going to the field, doing the research, knowing the methodology, finishing it. And it works. Because they are doing only that. And each student had a project to do. In the sense, there's a group. So each group had a project to do and they were given 600 samples, not 1, not 2. So they had to bring all the 600 hard copy questionnaires. There was a Viva, gruesome process. And if the proposal was not done properly, I used to not clear them at all until half of the semester. So until I give a good proposal, it's not cleared. So I think the assessment component, it becomes the way to outcomes. If your outcome has to be to the level that the student is confident of doing a research report, now your assessment has to be that way. So it's not that you have to have different objectives. I didn't have a quiz, I didn't have an article, I didn't have an assignment, no case. Simple project, but very strong project, 600 samples. So likewise, if your course you think can run only on the project work, I mean to say more weightage, please do it. Because more the weightage, students will give more importance. If you give only 5 marks, 5 marks, 5 marks, I think they will do nothing. Ultimately, they will not do this also, they will not do that also. And you will not be able to meet your outcomes also. I would like, I think all of you to just go through the Bloom's taxonomy also, if you get a free time. And you will have to, I think, operate from level number 3 and above. This is what I said. So when you write your course learning outcomes, they should, I think, touch level 3, level 4, level 5. Anything below level 3, I think, normally seen as a low outcome level for the MBA program, not for any institution, for the MBA program basically. Because that taxonomy is for different levels, for schools and colleges and even MBA institutions. So for postgraduate education, it starts from level 3 and above. Do we have any more questions on this? This is the first part. So if you're able to do the outline in this format, then I think this is the first step for getting into the learning mode, the outcome mode basically. Any more questions, Ramakant?
You covered, Prashant. With the good discussion which has come by the orientation that you gave,
Yeah.
cleared a lot of doubts of us. Definitely we'll start putting those things in the format that you've given. And I think in the meantime, you share your marketing research. I think
I'll share that thing. I'll share that outcome, that outline itself totally.
That should be all right. I think Professor Kori, can you wind up? Is there anything?
Once again, I thank Professor Prashant for taking his time and sharing a lot of inputs with all our colleagues. And we just begin with the thinking process of this NBA accreditation. And maybe in the days to come, we may require your support time and again, because you are our person. We have full confidence and faith in you. So whenever we are in need, we'll always definitely come back to you.
Yes.
So we want a kind of hand holding and supporting. So at this point of time, and that's what we are looking at, Prashant.
Yes.
Always we have taken Prashant as granted for our support. And I thank on behalf of all my colleagues. Thank you very much, Prashant.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close the meeting. Thanks, Prashant, again.
Yeah, thank you, Ramakant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.